Greetings from Snake Mountain Boat Works on Saturday, April 13, 2024. We've made a lot of progress on my 1947 Chris-Craft S25 Sportsman and thought it was time for maybe a more comprehensive update. Here she is, as we found her. At this point, she is at Matt Smith's Woody Boater Reedsville Railway and home. That's not where I found her, though. I found her, by the time I found her and Matt brought me to her the first time, we were up in Virginia at one of his buddies' boat everything place. If you remember, she was originally named Baby Chick, Roman numeral 4. Well, the first thing to share with this update is she is Baby Chick no longer. From now on, she'll be known as Orca, because as we've worked on her and lived with her, Orca is who she is. She reminds us of a majestic killer whale. As of today, she has a new bottom, a full true 5200 Don Dannenberg bottom, new chine planks, and in a minute we will walk into the other room and watch her be flipped. It was quite a challenge. Not only is she's 25 feet long, her beam is almost 8 feet. My vertical clearance in the room in the shop where we do our flipping is 8 feet minus about a 16th. So we were able to flip her, but let me tell you, it was not either a happy or stressless few minutes. Having flipped her, we're now focused on her decks, covering boards, and then ultimately her hull sides. If you remember, we have released all of the hull side planking, cleaned it, sealed and painted the backside with 3 coats of Chris-Craft mahogany bilge paint. The ceiling, of course, was with Cold Formula Smith's CPES. Everything then was cleaned anew, and we restacked both starboard and port topsides. So we're able to save, I would say, 98% of that planking, maybe 99%. And we hope to save all of the decks. Well, why don't I just pass on to the flipping experience, and then we can go from there. I'll be right back. Well, that was quite an experience. When we had her halfway over, I believe there was a collective, oh my God, there's not enough room. We had flipped her, obviously, from right side up to upside down to put the bottom on. But when we raised her again, the straps stretched just ever so slightly. We had her at 90 degrees, in other words, halfway around. The combing in particular just swept the bottom, and then the gunnels right in this area, the gunnel on the one side, the downside, was just barely above the concrete. So we didn't hit anything, because remember, all of this planking's been removed and put back on. So now we have her right side up, and you can see that while we had her upside down, we found it's much easier, particularly when it's not me doing it. It really is easier to do all of the cleaning, sealing, and bilge painting of the hull interior while she's upside down, because this way we can sit on a rolling shop chair and work, whereas when she's right side up, we've got to climb over all this prickly frame stuff. So if you remember, we were able to save virtually all of her bottom framing. Her chine plank was fine. The interior battens, the hull side battens, we replaced, and it was on the port side only, we replaced 3 or 4 sections. Nowhere did we have to replace it the full length. Now, the one problem when she's upside down is doing the painting that is up in the bow. So we will be up in there again. The one sort of sad part of this boat is that somebody at one time decided to put, and this is very tongue-in-cheek, a fancy gauge panel in the dashboard and ruined it in the process. So we will be fabricating an entirely new dashboard. I just spoke with Shauna Whiting at Cochin Instruments. She has all the gauges ready to ship, and that includes something kind of special in this boat. That hole right there has a mechanical clock in it that says Chris Craft on the dial. Really kind of cool. So fortunately, we have some router bits that can handle this radius. And once we finish, it'll look as if it were original. And we will save this original dashboard, of course, even with the huge hurt in the middle. So now it's time to evaluate what we have left. Happily, the foredeck planking is in really excellent restorable shape. So we will not replace anything here. These two really elegant, not elegant, just so special. I guess somebody decided to keep the bimini top down by running a line from the front corners, the forward corners of the bimini, down to these eyes. There's one on the port side as well, and cinch it down to keep it from flying away. Well, it'd been nice if they at least used a bronze one, and they didn't. So there we have that. The covering boards are really excellent right to here, right to where the combings start. And it's interesting, I have several photos of her being stored in the pole barn she was in. It was literally a pole barn, 4 poles and a roof. And the sides were all open, and particularly here on the starboard side, she must have been in the sun, because this covering board is really deteriorated. So we will have to replace it entirely. We will do it the same way that Chris Craft first installed it. It'll be a single piece. It's 14 feet, 6 inches long. Thank goodness we have old growth mahogany that is this length. It's gonna be a pain to resaw it from 8/4 down to 3/8, but we will be doing so. Then we got to the aft deck, and Joe and I had kind of a little battle. Joe wanted to be reasonable, Michael wanted to dream. And you can see who won, the reasonable guy. And here's the reason. This original planking is just, I mean, it's, the whole deck was, yes, there were a couple of halfway decent panels in here, planks in here, but he was right. Fortunately, again, we've got this really ancient mahogany that we can use here. It'll be a close match to the original wood. It supposedly all came from one of the suppliers that Chris Craft actually used to source its mahogany. So, I mean, who knows whether that's right or wrong, but it really is beautiful. And you can see that on the port side, there is no argument. This covering board, just, you can just take a fingernail and cut into it. And here's the difference. This was under a step pad. I can scratch what's left of the finish, but I can't get into the wood. So this one will come off as well. Now it's interesting, the combing, if we look across the other side, you can see that the combing actually is a continuous board. It's and the aft end's about 8 inches wide, and the forward end is about 6 inches wide. So this piece right here, let me get us back down to where we can see something. Sorry. This piece right here is butted into the combing face all the way down. So we will not have to release the combings on either side. But as with starboard, this seam, which by now has really opened up quite a bit anyway, will be the beginning of the replaced covering board. So we'll keep working on her. As soon as it gets warm enough, we'll be dragging her Scripps 208 outdoors and putting fire to her. And I think that'll be the makings of a great video to share with you. So that's our update on our 1947 S25 Sportsman. Orca. Thank you so much. Bye-bye for now from Snake Mountain Boat Works.